My husband is a transgender man and we've always wanted to start a family together. I have a huge fear of pregnancy, so he offered to carry the baby. It was an insane process. He had to stop taking testosterone for a long time, but he was amazing throughout the whole process, and I did everything in my power to help him feel more comfortable. None of my family know that he's transgender. They're homophobic, transphobic, all the phobics, but our friends know. He posted an ultrasound on his private Instagram, not knowing that my sister follows him on a burner account. Well, she saw the photo and told my whole family. They were furious that I wouldn't tell them. Our plan was always to say that we adopted. They assumed I was the one pregnant and blew up on me, so I just let it go and rolled with the lie because I wasn't going to out my husband. The first couple of months, I let them visit. Eventually, I'd start eating big meals and purposely bloating myself to the point of discomfort so I looked pregnant. They said around the 6-month mark that I was remarkably small, but I just played it off. Eventually, I couldn't lie any longer, so I looked for every excuse in the book not to see my family. I turned down the offers of baby showers, gender reveal parties, and anything that would require us seeing each other. Luckily, my family lives an hour away and we all live busy lifestyles, so them randomly visiting wasn't an issue. The one time they did pop in unexpectedly, we were out of the house. If they FaceTimed, I made a point to be in bed feeling horribly sick so I couldn't give the bump update. I lied my ass off and they just thought that I had a rough pregnancy. My husband gave birth a year ago and went straight back on testosterone, and now we're happy as ever. My family have met our daughter and they adore her. However, a week ago, after an argument between myself and a friend, said friend decided to out my husband by messaging my family and included proof. They did it by adding everybody to a group chat, posting screenshots and basically the whole story, then saying, "I'll leave you all to discuss." Then they left the chat and blocked me and my husband. In a transphobic rage, my mother raced to my home and all but beat my front door down. I had to call the cops. I've been disowned, but that hasn't stopped the daily calls and texts coming from my parents, aunts, uncles, siblings, and etc. They've been leaving nasty transphobic slurs on my voicemail and other hateful crap. I ended up crying to my friend yesterday who told me that I should have been honest with my family as it would have saved me a lot of heartache. That, or we said we miscarried, then adopted later. I'm not happy things played out the way they did. I just feel so sad now. Was I wrong to lie to my family in order to protect my husband?
Am I the asshole for letting my daughter wear an expensive dress to my sister's house? Me, my husband, and our 15-year-old daughter, Georgia, went to my sister's place for lunch this past weekend. Georgia is very bright. She completed her exams early and is now studying more advanced material. She's a big fashionista, a lot more than I was at that age. She loves pretty clothes and outfits, and we're happy to get her as much as we can, provided she behaves well and keeps up the good grades. The lunch with my sister was fairly casual, but Georgia wore her new pink dress. My sister isn't as well off as we are, unfortunately, and she is raising 3 children on her own, and her job isn't a high-paying one. In the past, she asked me if Georgia could tone down her outfits when we come to visit because she doesn't want her kids being upset because they can't afford things like that. I do get my sister's point, but it's not down to me to police what Georgia wears. I've spoken to Georgia about it, but I left the final decision to her. Anyway, so we went for lunch and Georgia ended up getting into an argument when my sister's 13-year-old daughter Lucy asked about the dress and where it was from. Georgia answered that it didn't matter because Lucy couldn't afford it anyway. We told Georgia to shut up as soon as the comment left her lips, but it soon ended up with Georgia and Lucy screaming at each other. My sister made the kids vanilla milkshakes, and Lucy decided to throw hers all over Georgia, ruining the dress. Georgia burst into tears, and to be fair, my sister did bring her a change of clothes. I said that if the dress was permanently ruined, I wanted my sister to reimburse us. My sister has refused and said that it was our responsibility because my daughter wore an expensive dress despite being warned not to. The dress cost a couple of $100 and washing it has failed to completely remove the stains. Frankly, I don't care about my sister's warnings. We can't make Georgia wear what she doesn't want to, and it's not our problem that she can't control her child and stop her from ruining a beautiful dress. So, am I the asshole? Oh my god, what an asshole, what a bitch. What kind of sister are you, bro? Your sister's going through shit and you're gonna be like, reimburse me for my daughter's dress? Like, you could, oh my god, like, alhamdulillah, oh my god, what is wrong with people? What's the difference between you and strangers if you're gonna ask for money back for a dress? Like, chill out.
Would I be the asshole if I reported a coworker for having a fake pregnancy? Okay, so we snitching today. I, a 25-year-old female, found myself at a crossroad recently and thought posting here could help. I don't want to be too specific, but I've been working at a big company for a few years now, and the work I do always requires teamwork and technical precision. However, Eliza is known by colleagues for being someone who does not pull her weight. She never follows procedure, which results in someone always having to clean up after her to save projects. HR has basically moved her to every position possible, hoping she would fit somewhere so they don't have to fire her. But she recently made a huge mistake due to negligence that cost the company a big client. So a couple of weeks ago, HR called me and asked if I would be interested in filling the position Eliza currently holds. We even discussed salary and certain conditions. It seemed that Eliza's firing was being negotiated. Yet Eliza arrives at the office the next day and wouldn't you know it, she just found out she's pregnant, which means she can no longer be fired at all. I was bummed out because HR immediately informed me that they can't afford to still promote me due to losing that big client and Eliza's position isn't vacant anymore. But fine, I wouldn't want to have a pregnant woman fired over me anyway. Fair enough. The thing is, Eliza's mom, who she lives with, is a distant relative's friend. I only saw her in person a couple of times, and I'm sure Eliza has no idea about this since we never met at family gatherings and don't really know each other. But 3 days ago, I saw her mom at said relative's house and congratulated her on being a new grandma. She laughs and says Eliza was never pregnant at all. I must have heard a rumor that was wrong. I go home and that night, said relative sends me a video taking the day of Eliza downing a bottle of alcohol with the caption, 2-month pregnancy celebration, in quotes. Basically mocking me for thinking she's pregnant while Gus have heard a rumor that was wrong. I go home and that night, said relative sends me a video taking the day of Eliza downing a bottle of alcohol with the caption, 2-month pregnancy celebration, in quotes. Basically mocking me for thinking she's pregnant while girlie is out here getting drunk. I just lost a huge opportunity in salary raise to someone who was so careless with her job she cost the company a big client, and she was never pregnant. I know this is her private information, but she lied and will have to lie again about a miscarriage, which would still protect her from being fired for a while under my country's laws. Would I be the asshole if I anonymously reported so maybe HR investigated further? I definitely don't want to send that video even though it's evidence and it's time-stamped. Well, look, this is what I'm going to say. Would you be the asshole? Kinda. But in this world, you have to decide what you want to be. Do you want to be a shark or not? Do you want to be a winner or not? Now, you can sit at this job for the next 2 years with your current pay and your current status and shuffle papers around and stay in the same spot. Or you could do a little high-level snitching and get Eliza out of here. She's a liar, she's bad for the company, and she's bad for your business. But if you happen to be wrong, you're probably going to get your head chopped off. If you gonna snitch, you got to snitch all the way. Get references, phone numbers, and you can still do it anonymously, but do it well. The world is made up of winners and losers. You can win here or you can lose here. She's winning because she's half-assed doing her job and making sure she can't get fired. You playing by the book. Hit that follow button and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I am Joe Stone. Am I the asshole for throwing my daughter a second birthday party after the special needs girl I asked her to invite ruined her first party? My daughter turned 12 a few weeks ago, and for her birthday party, she wanted pizza, a double feature movie at the drive-in, and ending the night with a sleepover and game night. I told her she could invite 4 friends. I suggested she invite Molly, a girl who just moved to the area and is in my daughter's class. I even admitted Molly's mom has told me Molly is having a hard time making friends since the move. Molly has cerebral palsy and some developmental and intellectual delays, but overall seemed pretty sweet. My daughter agreed to invite Molly, but I think it was only because I asked. While Molly seemed to be a very sweet kid, she was absolutely awful at the party. She cried when we didn't get a pizza with her favorite toppings, and then stole the first slice of cake meant for my daughter. Things got worse at the movie. The first movie, Cruella, was too scary for Molly, and she started freaking out and crying multiple times throughout the movie. I tried to calm her down, suggesting we take a walk to the snack bar during the scary parts, or for her to close her eyes, but she was inconsolable. I tried calling Molly's mom a few times to pick her up, but I didn't get an answer. Molly's mom took that break. Eventually, we ended up having to leave before the second movie, Black Widow, which was the movie my daughter really wanted to see. That night at our house, things still got worse. Molly threw a Wii remote after she lost at Just Dance and didn't want to play any of the games the other girls did. Come to find out, cerebral palsy is not the reason why she isn't making friends. Molly's an asshole. The next morning, I called Molly's parents to pick her up early. Her mom apologized for Molly's behavior, admitting she is prone to outbursts when she gets overstimulated, but she had been doing so much better lately. The next morning, I called Molly's parents to pick her up early. Her mom apologized for Molly's behavior, admitting she is prone to outbursts when she gets overstimulated, but she had been doing so much better lately in her therapy. A few days later, though, Molly told me that she can't stop talking about the party and how much she had fun. That evening, after all the other girls had left, my daughter was clearly upset about having her birthday ruined. I felt bad for asking her to invite Molly, so I told her the next weekend I would take her and her friends out for pizza and to see the Black Widow in theater to make it up to her. But my partner thinks this is a jerk move. He pointed out that sometimes life isn't fair and that things get ruined. He also doesn't think it's a good idea to show our daughter it's okay to exclude people who are different. I'm gonna be honest with you, you are not the asshole here, and I don't necessarily think that your husband is right. Do you want to teach your daughter to include people? Of course, and you did a great job of doing that. Unfortunately, it doesn't always go to plan. I think that you should say, hey, you did a great job with Molly. I appreciate you listening to me and inviting her to your party. I know it didn't go the way we planned, but I'm very proud of you. And to reward you for being this kind of person and still being so nice to her, even though she wasn't the best person at your party, hey, I'm going to make it up to you and take you to get pizza. Because also excluding people in general isn't okay because of who they are, but it also doesn't mean you have to invite everybody to everything. If you made it this far into the video, you might as well follow and subscribe to the podcast on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. I am Joe Stone. Bow!
Am I the asshole for walking out on my husband's birthday dinner when his sister was complaining about her fertility? My husband's parents threw my husband a birthday dinner at their home last Saturday. During dinner, his sister announced she was pregnant with her 6th child. Everyone congratulated her and my husband grew quiet. He and I have been trying for a baby for 7 years now and only just saved the money for IVF. Once the commotion about the new member of the family settled, my sister-in-law started her usual commentary on how much it sucks to be so fertile. She said she feels like she'll never be able to stop having kids because the pill and contraceptive injection both failed and now she's not a good fit for an IUD. She even pointed out that she'd been pregnant so often they don't even need to have full sex anymore for her to get knocked up. I couldn't take it and walked out. My husband followed me and I could see he was holding back some tears too. He apologized for saying nothing and I said he didn't need to because he was obviously struggling too. By the time we made it home, his parents had called saying they were so sorry and how none of that was meant to happen. His sister, on the other hand, called me a killjoy and a drama queen, and she told me it was rude to walk out after all our parents' hard work and for spoiling the celebration of a pregnancy. I hung up on her and I want to cry because her words stuck in my head. Since then, she and my husband got into a fight because she called me selfish and said I made the dinner about me. I wish I could feel like she's totally wrong, but I worry she's right.
I'm an asshole for making rules about my unborn son that I expect my boyfriend's family to follow. I'm currently 22 weeks pregnant with a little baby boy. I live with my boyfriend and I made a lot of changes in where I go and who I see. Most of his intimate family is not vaccinated and does not plan on getting vaccinated, which makes me worry because I do not want to get sick, and when my baby is here, I do not want them to get sick either. I don't have any problems with his family, just their views on things don't exactly align with mine. My boyfriend's mom has a room at our house, but she doesn't really come over except for during the day sometimes. She also has a room at her daughter's house as well. I told my boyfriend when the baby comes that we'll move into his mom's room, the baby will have our room. When his sister found out, she did not like that idea. His family also comes over whenever they please without warning. I told him I want 2 weeks uninterrupted with the baby and no one can come over. When his mom found out, she was livid and says she has every right to see whoever she wants. They also got upset when I said I only wanted my boyfriend in the delivery room. I've also had some medical issues during this pregnancy as well, which is why I have these rules. So am I the asshole here?
Am I the asshole for calling the police on my son's friend? My son, Brian, 13, has a friend, Tom, 13, who I really dislike. To put it in the gentlest possible terms, Tom has never been disciplined a single day in his life and is under the impression that there are and never will be any consequences for his actions. However, since Brian is on the spectrum, very few other children want to hang out with him. I have tried to tell him that Tom is using him for his Nintendo Switch, but he is unable to process that. Every time Tom comes over, he'll hog the Switch to play one of the games, oftentimes a single-player game. Over the weekend, Tom came over for a sleepover. As usual, he raced right up to Brian's room, turned on the game, and sat there for hours. He played until 3 a.m. on Sunday morning, and then he woke up at 10 a.m. and, without joining us for breakfast, started playing more. At around 12, Brian had reached his limit and told Tom that it was time to go home. He was tuned out completely. Brian then came to me asking what he should do, and I told him to be more assertive. An hour later, he came back basically in tears, saying that no matter what he did, Tom was just ignoring him or giving him a short, a little more answer. I walked in to find Tom, as usual, mouth breathing at the screen. I told him I had to drive him home, and Tom responded that he'd walk. It's like 2 miles. Then I told him that he had to go home, and the kid legitimately looked me in the eyes and said, "No, I don't think I will." He actually tried to pull off the Captain America line. I then called his mother, who didn't pick up. Finally, I unplugged the machine from the wall, causing his game to turn off. But he attached the controller to the handheld part and sat on Brian's beanbag chair, again, impervious to anything we said. At my limit, I went into the other room and I called the police. Since we live in a small town, the police officer, a good friend of ours, came right over. He walked up to Tom and said there had been complaints of trespassing, which Tom responded by saying he was invited. The officer looked at me and I assured him that we had asked him to go home. Then the officer asked if he wanted to be charged with misdemeanor trespassing. Tom finally got his act together and was taken home by the police. But on his way out, I told him that he was never going to step foot in my house again. I told him not to talk to Brian at school and not to text Brian privately. An hour later, Tom's mother called me and shrieked over the phone hoarsely about how horribly I treated her son. I stayed calm and told her I called her, but she said she was busy in a meeting and couldn't talk. I guarantee that Tom fed her some lie-filled story. But I didn't have the energy. I told her to get her shit together as a parent, and I just hung up on her. I have received dozens of anger-filled texts, both from Tom's mother and numbers I don't know. I wouldn't care what those trashy parents think, but I wonder if they have a point. So, am I the asshole for calling the police on my son's friend? Am I the asshole for not taking my husband to the hospital after he lied to me? I am a 28 female and my husband is 26. We have been married for 4 months. I returned to work right after we got back from our honeymoon. My husband thinks I went too soon and wanted to extend our honeymoon or plans for a summer trip for us, but since we have to pay rent, electricity, and internet, we needed to earn a living. I work at a restaurant right across the street. My husband would call me during work hours and complain about missing me and feeling bored. I get home by 6 p.m., so I understand how he feels since he can't start working until September. He called me one time from work asking if I could come home to watch a movie together, but I said I was busy. He complained, then ended the call, then called me back 30 minutes later telling me to get home ASAP because he injured his arm and couldn't move it. I freaked out and went home quickly to find it was actually a lie to get me to skip work so I could watch the movie with him. It really pissed me off. He did it again days later saying his car broke down and I needed to come pick him up. Then I found out he lied to me to get out of work so he could take me out for lunch. I spoke to him about this and told him to stop doing this, and he apologized and said he won't repeat those shameful acts. 5 days ago, he called me while I was working, telling me to come take him to the hospital because he fell from the stairs and injured his ankle. I hung up on him thinking he was lying. He texted me, but I ignored him since I had a ton of work. 20 minutes later, his brother called and was mad, saying he just took my husband to the hospital for his broken ankle, and I should have responded to my husband's calls and texts. I went to the hospital and my husband was very upset. I tried to explain I thought he was joking, but he said, "Save it. I don't want to hear about how you thought I was a liar." Then went on about how hurt he was that I didn't help him in time of need and vulnerability. He told me to go back to work since it was so important and since I didn't want to leave it to help him out. He started a big argument over this, and I told him due to his previous lies, how was I supposed to believe him now? He said he didn't even need to tell me and I should have known something was wrong. It's been days and he's still upset and asked his sister-in-law to stay to help him out. I felt horrible and not like a supportive wife at all. Okay, someone told me I should add this piece of information to the context, and here it is. My husband has suffered from mental health issues in the past year or so. Hence, he can't work till September. He's doing a lot better now compared to what he dealt with in the past. But he does still suffer from a number of symptoms, one of them being anxiety. He doesn't know anyone in the town we live in, just his brother that he sees once or twice a week. He says he hates staying home by himself and wishes he could have me stay all the time. So, am I the asshole for not taking my husband to the hospital after he lied to me? Am I the asshole for pointing out my aunt has a favorite kid at a family dinner? My Aunt Mara, 45 female, has 2 kids, Reese, 13 female, and Laura, 9 female. Mara has always clearly preferred Laura. Reese always knew it too. My aunt always makes sure Laura can do the extracurriculars she wants to do. She lets her drop out at any time, even if she's paid in advance. She gives her the birthday she wants every single year. And in general, she's more affectionate and interested in what Laura is up to. With Reese, she pushed her into dance when she was 5 and made her to do dance for 4 years. Reese never liked dance, and why Reese couldn't do something she wanted to do, and she told me that they didn't have the money for it. Reese never got to do another one, but Laura has several: soccer, dance, art, and swim right now. But she's also done basketball, photography, gymnastics, which really upset Reese because she always wanted to do gymnastics, guitar, piano, drums, and singing. Aunt Mara also discards Reese's plans and has made her cancel to look after her sister, but also made Reese skip her plans when Laura has them, and they conflict. In the last year and a half, Reese has just decided to say, fuck everyone. She's definitely weighed down by it all. We talk about it because she said I'm the only one who acknowledges it, but I have definitely noticed. We were all gathered for a family dinner Sunday. It was my grandparents' birthday this week, so the family decided to celebrate Sunday, and Reese was in a really bad mood. Aunt Mara told her she was bringing down the mood, and Reese got up and left the table. Aunt Mara said she didn't know what was up with her, but she's always acting like the whole world is out to get her. I mentioned that maybe if she didn't show such blatant favoritism, Reese would be happier. My aunt and parents were pissed I would bring it up. My grandparents asked what I meant. My parents told me it wasn't the correct time or place to bring it up, and I embarrassed Aunt Mara. So, am I the asshole for kissing my friend's brother without his consent during a truth or dare? Yesterday, I was supposed to spend the night at my friend's house with some of my classmates, and we were playing truth or dare. There really is no reason for us to choose truth since we already know a lot about each other, so we mostly just went with dares. It was pretty fun, and we had some weird challenges. I was sitting next to my friend's brother, and when it was my turn, a classmate challenged me to kiss him. His sister immediately told my friend to change the dare, and so she did. To be clear, her brother did not say anything when he heard the dare and just laughed. So he definitely looked like he was okay with it, right? Well, wrong. Because after I kissed him, he told me, WTF am I doing? And looked like he was really grossed out by it. Honestly, I was offended and asked why he was so grossed out by me kissing him. I am actually a pretty okay looking girl, and even if I wasn't, there was no reason for him to act like this. He ended up leaving the game, and my friend told me that what I did was wrong on so many levels, and to get out of her house. My other classmates didn't say anything, so I think they were on my side, but didn't want to participate in this argument. I will ask them when they get back home. Anyways, I did end up leaving. So, do you guys think I was the asshole here?